Now, I've been known in the past for saying some not very nice things about Borderlands 3, and I just want to set the record straight once and for all, because some people were saying some not very nice things to me, and I'm very sensitive. So they were saying things like calling me a contrarian edgelord for not liking this game, which I thought was strange. You know, contrarian edgelord? Me? Never. Listen, I don't know what's contrarian about the particular opinion. I was under the impression everyone and their pedophile uncle thought this game was mediocre at best. But my problem with Borderlands 3 is not so much the game, it's just the story. There's no ifs or buts about it. The story was nothing short of rancid ass. I would rather jump out of an airplane with a condom as a parachute than to play this game's story mode. Kendrick Lamar said that. Therein lies the problem, right? The only mode in this game is the fucking story mode. So maybe some of you out there have the stomach to just play the game despite the gerbil storytelling, but chances are that you're also the type of people who have watched that Chowder show on Cartoon Network and thought it was actually good. But I watch Tom and Jerry like an intellectual, so when I see doggy storytelling, I know to just get as far away from it as possible. But I did pay for the season pass, so every couple of months I have to come back and play this game again just to get my money's worth. Now, to catch all of you up on the latest DLC 2 video I made, basically I said that I was worried about Borderlands 4, or whatever it's going to be called, because they didn't seem to have an idea where they were going with the story. It just didn't really seem to know like what they were doing. I bought the DLC pass because I thought they were going to be important to the story, seeing as Gearbox themselves said they were going to bring characters that we didn't see in the main game into the DLC. So far we have seen Timothy, the Handsome Jack doppelganger in the first DLC, and then Gage the Necromancer in DLC 2. The problem is that these DLCs haven't really mattered in terms of the overall story. The ending of the first one left with Moxxi owning Jack's casino, meaning she has virtually unlimited money at her disposal, which I guess is somewhat relevant to the war that's supposed to be coming when the Sirens get together. DLC 2 ended with Hammerlock and Wainwright married, which matters because who knows, honestly, who knows? Maybe those two families together might make Jacobs a bigger force or something, because they obviously can't have an heir with some crazy superpower or something, because, well, I mean, if this was a baseball game, let's just say they're both catching, so I don't really know what's supposed to be important there. Which then brings us to DLC 3, which was released some 2 weeks ago, and I had no idea because no one gives a fuck about this game. Now, this DLC is a tough one. Because on one hand, I actually really enjoyed it. You know, I just playing the game. It was one of those scenarios where the story just kept out of the way enough so that you could just enjoy the game itself. Like I said, my main problem was the story. But the core Borderlands gameplay is probably better than Borderlands 2. The problem in this game is the story gets in the way, the side quests suck dick, the characters make you want to shoot yourself in the shins. It's just not a good time. So projecting aside, I actually feel like DLC 3 was trying to tell a good story. But for some reason, they just couldn't flesh it out. Like, I liked Rose. I think she's one of the coolest characters in Borderlands 3. But along with Rose, it felt like they were trying to tell a story with, like, twists and turns. Right? You start out in the middle of nowhere, and the first character you meet is Rose. And then she leads you to the town that has information on the bounty you're looking for. Only once you get to the town, you find out Rose was actually the main antagonist of this whole thing. You know, like, that's what makes interesting stories, is those twists and turns. There was also that talk of this like obscure entity called the Company, who was using this planet to perform all types of experiments on wildlife and giant monsters and shit like that. But they refused to say the company's name because they're all afraid of it. Then you find out that that company was actually the Jacobs Corporation. And that's where I said, listen, you had my curiosity before, but now you have my attention. Because this means that the Jacobs Corporation has been doing some pretty shady experiments and shit like that without anyone knowing. Suddenly they become a pretty big player because now they have access to the resources of Hammerlock's family. So now that they're married, it actually shows a much bigger picture. Then Rose awakens this beast, then this shit happens, and then you're like, oh, okay, here we go. And then it's over. Like, Rose just fucking instant transmissions out, even though you shot her, and you don't find out what happens to her. But presumably, she's still alive. The entire DLC was just boom, boom, boom. That's the entire DLC. While I was playing, I couldn't help feeling that this was really low budget. Like, the map layouts were super small and simple. There weren't that many areas to go to. There weren't many side quests, and I wrote down at least 3 that are pretty stupid. There was one where you had to climb a mountain to gain cowboy wisdom. Then once you get to the top, you one-shot the boss. My phone fell. You one-shot the boss, as you do, and then once you come back down, the guy tells you you now have cowboy wisdom and sends you on your way. That was the entire side quest. There was another side quest that was literally picking up eggs in a farm, and then you bring them back, and then they tell you, hey boss, thank you, and then just send you on your way. There's another quest in which you find these two chicks, and they're fighting over a can of beans. Stay with me here. And you have to follow a trail of beans to find the last remaining can of beans. Once you do, bring them to the chicks, choose one to give it to, and then they end up sharing it anyway. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm lonely and I just...
Betrayer and Edgelord?
I wish I had friendships like that.
Never.
No, look, me shitting on Borderlands 3 is getting old by now, which is why I try to take a lighter approach. But to be honest, if they really are cutting budget on these, is because people don't care, right? And people don't care because they won't get anything out of it, right? Borderlands 2 DLC didn't matter either, but because the game was just that fucking good, you just wanted more things to do in the game. I look to these DLC to just give me a reason to play the game at all. And this marks the downward spiral of Borderlands 3. If you remember, Borderlands 2 lasted 7 years, whereas Borderlands 3 didn't even last 1. My concerns for Borderlands 4 were that they seemed to be afraid of addressing the characters that existed before in the story, often giving you like these easy one-liners addressing the time skip between Borderlands 2 and 3 that don't actually tell you anything. And because the main game didn't address these things, once again I looked to the DLC to fill in these gigantic holes in the story, but nothing. Still no accidents, still no Salvador, still no Fiona, no more news on the other 3 sirens, all of which are extremely important to the story, if not at least to the fan base, right? And as I watched the game I was most excited for in the last like 7 years fade into nothingness, I can't help but think that nothing in this game actually mattered. Like that when Borderlands 4 comes out, you could literally erase Borderlands 3 from existence and nothing would change. All I have to say here is they try to do something different, and that's not entirely a bad thing. I actually enjoyed it. What stops me from feeling fulfilled is the fact that they are adding new things when we should be resolving the old ones. Like Rose. I like Rose. I think she's fucking awesome. But they also go out of their way to make her pretty much a siren without her actually being a siren. They added a new element called the core, which is basically Iridium without it actually being Iridium. They added pretty much a vault monster without it actually being a vault monster. And it's this careful treading of plot points that just pisses me off. And they do this all over Borderlands 3 because they're just dangling it in your face. Where's Fiona? What did her and Reese see in the vault? Where's the Watcher doing all this? Who is the leader of Hyperion? Is Rose a siren? No, she's not. And Core will never be more important than Iridium, so it's already irrelevant to the overall story. Like I said, maybe Jacob's family hiding something is the biggest thing that will come out of this. But even that is so small compared to the massive things that are supposed to be happening right now. Like the next DLC is supposed to be around Krieg, so at least that's something to look forward to. Maybe something big will happen there, because nothing big happened in this entire game. Even Lilith dying was like, okay, weird flex, but okay, like, yeah, who has Lilith's powers now? Is she even dead? Like, we have so much shit to do. But no, instead we're here on this Courage the Cowardly Dog ass place, chasing after some bitch just because she killed some dude whose greatest ability was to fucking whistle. Like, unless you're Peppa Pig, this is worthless. Anyway, I'm gonna end this review by saying this will be my last video on Borderlands 3. I think. See, now we can all go play Hyperscape when that comes out, right? Roll the outro.